So I'm here with Jared Hallows, who's our Vice President of Sales at Solcius. And Jared, you've been working with us for about how long now?
4 years in April.
4 years in April.
Yeah.
You've been here pretty much since the get-go then.
Yeah,
That's
I think
awesome.
there's only 4 or 5 that have been here that long or longer.
Yeah, so Jared and I are going to talk today a little bit about entrepreneurship and just some of the experiences that you've had over the years, going from when you started your own business at Platinum, you know, talking about your family a little bit, and then your experience coming here to Solcius and how that journey's been. So,
Okay.
Jared, if you wouldn't mind, just tell us a little bit about your background, where you're from. Tell us a little bit about you.
A little bit about me. So I actually today live where I grew up, which is Salina, Utah. So kind of in the middle of nowhere, a very small town, about 2,500 people. So grew up in a small town life, and we moved back to there about 4 years ago. So, you know, growing up, normal Utah community. One of the things that as I look back at everything that I've done for work, I've always been self-employed except for one time.
Wow.
Always, you know.
You've been in charge of your paycheck.
I've been in charge of my
It's up to you.
paycheck, yeah. I worked for 2 weeks for somebody else when they told me when to work and how to work and how much they're going to pay me, and I said, I'm done. That was it.
When did you decide to get into direct sales, and what did you start Platinum Security? And for those of us who don't know, tell us a little bit about Platinum and what that is.
Yeah, so it was my senior year of college. I was looking to get a real job, and a guy recruited me to go out and sell for the summer. So he said, hey, I've got this great job. You know, you can go out and you can make $20,000 or $30,000. I had actually done some construction work before that, and that was kind of my summer job. So I looked at the opportunity. I said, well, it's got to be $4,000 or $5,000. So I said, sign me up. My wife and I drove across the country to Indiana. They gave us an apartment address. We showed up at the apartment, and in our first meeting, they stood up. They handed us a binder that said, here's a picture of an alarm system, and here's the paperwork you need to get filled out, and good luck.
That was the training?
That was the training. We had 2 hours of training.
Wow. So then you go out and you start knocking doors, just kind of learning the pitch as you go then, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So before you get into the Platinum story, tell me a little bit about your first experience knocking doors, because I know that's scary for most people. You know, going and just kind of putting yourself out there, facing rejection every single day. What was that like for you? Talk about the first, you know, maybe day, first week you went out and started knocking.
Yeah, I mean, I remember it was Scott, and there were 2 of us in a car. We didn't do car groups. They didn't drop you off. They basically said, you go find some place to knock. I had never seen an alarm system, so I didn't know why people needed them. But I thought if anybody needed it, rich people needed them. So we went to the nicest neighborhood we could find, and we got out and said, you know, we have a free alarm system. You put the sign in the yard, the normal security pitch.
Yep.
And I actually sold one on my very first day.
Really?
Like within a couple of hours.
That's not normal. Most people
Yeah.
don't get one their first day out.
So I thought, I've got this figured out. 2 hours on the job. I'm a pro at it. And for 3 days after that, I sold nothing. I couldn't sell anything to anybody for any reason. So it was, I think because I had success quickly, that was a real benefit to me, because I often wonder if I wouldn't have had that, would I have been able to stick with it long enough to have success?
Well, when you went through those days that you got the zeros, did you have frustration that set in, like, hey, should I be doing this? Or are you the type of person that's like, I'm just going to grind through and just keep it going?
In my mind, I knew, my thought was, if anybody can do it and make money, I should be able to do it and make money.
Why is
I may not be the very best, but I can at least be, you know, I can do what the worst can do. And so when I saw other people selling, I knew, well, if anybody can do it, I can do it.
Well, that's a humble attitude.
So
You go through your first summer sales experience. Sounds like you stuck with that for 5 years selling.
Yeah.
And then you decided to start your own business.
Yeah.
So talk about that, the transition from going where you had sold now for 5 years during the summer times to starting your own company. How did that all come about? What decided to have you, or what prompted you to take the leap of faith to do that?
So for us, I think like most entrepreneurs, you learn an industry, you learn a business, and you see that there are things that could be done better. And so we talked about it, we looked at it and said, this is an opportunity, an improvement that we could make on the current business. And so we decided, and we were young.
How old were you?
We were naive, 26.
Wow.
26. So we were naive. We thought we could do what anybody else could do once again. And so we went for it. And we went all in. I mean, we went from, at that point I was actually a manager. My partners were regional managers, making what we considered to be great money. And it was, we went cold turkey and jumped all into this new venture.
So did you have any money to start off with? I mean, when you say you go all in, how do you form a company from, did you have savings put together? How'd you do it?
Yeah, so we did, it's a long story, but there was a company that had they had some operations, but they had no sales. They just started on some operations. They had an investor that they were working with. And so we really said, hey, this is an opportunity for us. They have no sales. They're dying. They're going to die. They were on the verge of, ending the company. And we knew what we could provide was sales and people. And so we made that happen quickly, and we started. And I've still got pictures. One of the guys had a membership at the country club here in town, and that was our first office.
Oh,
and
boy.
we would meet people there, and we'd tell them what we're going to do, and and we went from there.
Got it. You go, and you decide to do as a summer sales program, right?
Correct.
Where you're going to go out and recruit guys, take them out for the summer. What was your first year? What year was that?
First summer was 2007.
2007. Okay. And I know my little brother worked for you. That's why I know some of this history, somewhat. So you guys go out first summer 2007. And how many offices did you start with? How many guys were you able to recruit to go out and get going at Platinum?
So, boy, that's going way back. Number of offices, frankly, I cannot remember. We had about 300 sales reps.
Wow. How long did it take you to recruit 300 sales reps?
So we started in September, and we had 300 sales reps by the following April.
How were you able to do that? I mean, how do you get that many reps in 6 months?
Yeah, and I think that's one of the, I think one of the advantages that we had that we didn't realize, and as we work with entrepreneurs, we see a lot. We had one thing that we knew how to do well. Two things, I guess. We knew how to recruit, and we knew how to sell. Luckily, those are the absolute two most important things you can do when you're a sales and marketing company, which 90% of businesses are a sales and marketing company. And I think if they don't recognize that, they fail, because an operations company does not succeed because they have no revenue. So luckily, I don't think we realized it at the time, but there's nothing more important to an organization than that. And so we put our heads down. We knew we had 6 months to recruit, and then it was selling time. So we put our heads down and we started recruiting as hard as we could, talking to everybody we could, and combined efforts. And we recruited key guys, managers, and they recruited their people. But I think the reality is we luckily were doing the absolute most important activity we could for 6 months straight, and that was recruiting. Recruiting,
yeah. I mean, you think about it, the type of recruiting you did was just not your standard, where you go out and you recruit people to come and sell tomorrow in the market they live in. You guys are recruiting somebody to say, hey, go move across some place in the country. They probably didn't know where they were going at the time. Maybe they did, I don't know. But you're going to go move across the country, and you're going to start knocking doors, and you're going to start selling. That's not the easiest recruiting in the world to do, so that's awesome. So you go out for the first summer. How did it go?
So we had a fantastic first summer. We had done a few sales before the actual summer started, pre-season, if you will. Pre-season back then we kind of introduced that concept a little bit, and we encouraged people to go sell because, number one, we needed the additional revenue, and number two, we wanted to know what we had before we got out for the summer. So we actually, at the end of the summer, we had done just shy of 30,000 accounts in those 4 months.
Whoa!
So, we actually, I think our initial projections were 15,000, and then we said, no, I think we can do more. And then as the summer went, we kept doing more and more than we thought we would. So, yeah, I think for a first year, it was successful.
Yeah, you would say. 6 months, you start recruiting, you get 300 reps, and after that, you go out and you start selling for the first summer, you do 30,000 accounts. Okay, so now the next year, did you grow from the 30,000? Did you have a better year the next year than you did the first year?
Yeah, so obviously the first year we were recruiting based on a dream. Mm-hmm. Hey, here's what we want to happen. It had never happened. Here's why you should come work for us. But, it was all in theory. Now that we had put some reality to that theory, the word got around. People wanted to come work with us. I think recruiting, they knew we were a legitimate company. And so we grew quickly. So the next year we went out and we about doubled the number of sales reps. About 600, close to 600 sales reps we had that following year. And so that really, that we ended the summer just shy of 60,000 accounts that next summer. So in 2 years, we had done 60,000 accounts. We'd done over $100 million in revenue in 2 years.
That's amazing. Most companies do not do that in 2 years, so that's incredible. So congratulations on all that success. So the company's name was Platinum.
Yep.
Platinum's not in existence today, but what were some of the things that you learned from the early successes? And then, I know there's a lot of alarm companies, there's challenges, and it's that companies go through. What were some of the challenges that you guys faced?
Yeah. So I think one of the challenges that we faced, and something that I've seen even in our dealers here at Solcius, is growth. Growth is, I think a lot of people say you're either growing or you're dying. And I think that's for a sales and marketing company, in my opinion, for any business. If you're not growing, you're dying. And because what happens is you lose the morale of your people. Mm-hmm. And so people want to see growth, they want to see progress, and so it's really difficult not to grow. So I would say that was one of the biggest challenges we had, was from the second year to the third year, we did not grow. And there were several reasons, factors, financing, those types of things.
Sure.
But the reality is we didn't grow. And so I think that really, for sales organizations, I think that is so critical. Mm-hmm. So to me, that's one of the big lessons. If you're not growing, you're dead.
Yeah. And we know that this game is such it seems like, there's so much competition and reps are going from one company to the next. Talk to me a little bit about the culture that you were able to create at Platinum, just because I know that's important. I know that when my brother started working for you guys, I think I've shared this with you, I actually started trying to at least do some sales for you guys over the phone. Got shot down, by the way. But talk a little bit about the culture you guys created, because I think it was pretty well known in the industry that you guys had a really strong, good culture at that company.
Yeah. One of the reasons we started Platinum in the beginning was because we saw that in the industry, it wasn't what you did, it was more who you knew and how much you whined, basically. The old squeaky wheel gets the grease, and we saw that. A lot of people got greased up pretty good. So we really started Platinum on the basis of, hey, you get what you earn. Our pay scales were structured that depending on your experience, depending on how many preseason sales, you could earn better pay scales. Mm-hmm. It wasn't based on whether you're going to go to another company. It was all based on really what you've actually done. So I think that culture, it built a culture of trust, I think, was really what it did, because nobody had to wonder, oh, well, why did you get what you got and why did I get what I got? So it really, I think, it built a foundation of trust within the organization, and people knew that they could earn, if they wanted something more, they could earn it. And so I think that really gave us an advantage with competition, because people got really tired of, playing games, I think, is probably the best way to put it. So I think that really helped kind of set the tone. And then anytime you're doing what we consider something great or something that people hadn't done, nobody had ever come out and done 30,000 accounts in their first year, that creates a lot of momentum, a lot of energy, and a lot of excitement. And so once again, going back to, if you're not growing, you're dying, growth creates that momentum and that excitement. And that was the culture we had. Mm-hmm. And so I think that, really having some principles or something. What is your company going to be known for? Because you can't be everything to everybody. Mm-hmm. You've got to be known for something. And so that's really what we were known for, and we attracted those type of people. Mm.
So you were the CEO, which there's always a lot of pressure on being the CEO of a company. And I know you had business partners, and everybody had their responsibilities, and then it was a group of you, or it was a group effort running that company. But talk about, just, if you can, some of the pressures of being known as the CEO, that ultimately, you're the decision maker that's going to move the company. What is the pressure that comes along with that? What's that like?
Yeah, for me, like you say, we had great partners, and so I can't take credit for any of the success, but
you can take credit for some of the success.
I think what it did was, when you're trying to make decisions, it can't be just a one-sided decision, meaning, hey, this might be what's best for one department or one sales guy, or it might be best for a group of people, but what's best for the entire organization. And trying to be balanced and fair, I think that's a challenge. Trying to make sure that people within the organization feel valued, and that they want to work there. Because when you get hundreds of people, you've got to make sure that people want to be there. Yeah. And we ran a people company. I mean, that's what a sales and marketing company is. It's a people company. Mm-hmm. It's all about your people. And so making sure that we were making the best decisions to keep people and attract people, that was, I think, what probably worried me the most. Obviously, it's always interesting when you've got to make sure that you've got enough money in the bank to make payroll and all of those pressures that come, that a lot of our dealers feel every week. But I think overall, trying to make decisions, and so I think the other thing that I learned is you're going to make some wrong decisions. And oftentimes make a decision and go with it, recognizing if it's wrong, you've got to change and you've got to move on. But no decision is probably as bad as the wrong decision.
Got it. Yeah, and I've seen, just in working with you over the past 4 years now, that experience. And when you said that, I realized that because you were a CEO, you've always done an excellent job of working with all different groups of people in all different departments. And I know that, I'm over sales, and a lot of times I'm so sales focused, because the sales reps, and we know they're important, they're the lifeblood of the company, bring in the revenue and that. But I've seen in the way that you interact, you work so well with salesmen, but also the operations department, the account management department, the customer care, whatever it is, in making sure that everybody feels valued, and that understanding really closely how all of those different departments work together. So that's a skill set that you've brought along throughout your career. That's awesome. So let's transition just a little bit. Now your main role here at Solcius, you're the VP of Sales, and you really focus in on dealers. Now, you've been an entrepreneur. Yeah. Now you're working with other entrepreneurs as they're starting their businesses in solar. What have you seen that's made our entrepreneurs or our new dealers successful, and what have you seen that's maybe made some of them that they're not as successful?
So I think going back, to the question of why was Platinum successful? Like I say, we knew sales and recruiting. Luckily, and I have now seen that watching. I mean, we've had 150 dealers probably, something like that. And you can't classify everybody as a dealer because a lot are trying to figure out what they want in life.
Sure.
But seeing people come in and try and see, small businesses come and start and what makes them successful. I think taking those two activities, selling, when you're a sales and marketing company, there is nothing else that even matters. The fanciest shirts, the best hats, the best trips, whatever you want to focus on is all, in my opinion, a waste of time. There's only one thing that matters. There's two things that matter: sales and recruiting. You really have to have both of those. So we've seen dealers come in and be very successful. We've had dealers come in and be very successful. When you really look at it, they didn't care what shirt they were wearing. They didn't care what hat they had. Frankly, the owners they're not great operators. They don't know how to do payroll. They don't know how to, they don't know how processing and IT and all that. They know one thing. They know how to sell, and they know how to get people to buy into their dream. And they go to work, and they really forget everything else.
Yeah. For a second, let's talk about our top dealer, that you've worked with, and we know them very, very well, Carl and team. How does Carl, what does he do differently in the way that he manages his people every day versus the way you see some of our other dealers maybe managing their people?
Yeah, in my opinion, what Carl does, he holds his people accountable on a daily basis. Not on a monthly basis, even on a weekly basis, on a daily basis. And I've been with him sometimes on an hourly basis. I mean, he wants to know, what did we do this hour? And so he does not let a second pass without, and it's really on the sales side, he does not want to let any time pass without knowing what's going on for sales. So I think that what he does very well, he holds people accountable. He motivates them, he encourages them, but they know that they're going to be accountable. If they set a goal, he sets monthly goals with them, but then he manages that down to a daily level. And so you don't just miss, 3 days went by, now we're 3 days behind on our goal. It's, hey, we didn't hit it in the last hour, we got to make it up this hour.
Okay, talk to me a little bit about the recruiting that you do now, because you go out and you talk to dealers and you recruit different people and that. What do you see when you're out there trying to recruit or attract somebody? What helps you be successful in recruiting? What does it take to get somebody to say, yes, I want to come and work or sell for you?
So, to me, somebody being an entrepreneur has to have a desire. And even when I was recruiting sales reps, when I first started, there were a few things that I was looking for. I was looking for somebody that had a positive attitude, because knocking doors was always hard. They had to have a desire. They also had to be willing to learn. So I guess I look for the same things today in an entrepreneur. For an entrepreneur, though, I really think they have to have a desire unlike any other. If they just want, I've always wanted to own my own business, and that's kind of their attitude, it's not going to work.
It's not going to work.
I already know what's going to happen. They're going to come in, they're going to get started, and 2 weeks later, after they don't have any sales, they're going to say, I'm done.
Yeah.
So to me, it's really, somebody's got to have a burning desire to be an entrepreneur, because they are going to they're going to have gut check after gut check. It's
Absolutely.
daily gut checks, and sometimes hourly gut checks. And if you don't have a lot of guts, you're not going to make it. So
that's a good one.
So I don't really try. I guess I don't try to convince them that being an entrepreneur is for you, because if they don't already feel that and know that, I can't give them that desire.
Yeah, no, that's a great lesson to be learned. I think that there's a lot of people out there when they feel like I want to become an entrepreneur, it's because they've worked at a job that maybe they didn't like. Maybe it's a desk job or a 9-to-5 job, and they get a little bit frustrated and they say, okay, I want to be the boss because the boss has the lifestyle that I want.
Yeah.
And I think what most people don't realize is that the boss, number one, he has all the pressure of the entire company on his shoulders, just like what you talked about when you were the CEO, and making sure the entire organization was happy. But the other thing that they don't realize is that the boss also is probably the one that's putting in the most hours.
Yeah.
And it's not just maybe the hours that they see at the office, because that's one thing. It's also the hours that when the boss goes home and the phone calls that he takes and the late night meetings and the answering email, whatever it is. But I think what I'm saying is the myth that most entrepreneurs believe or maybe have when they start off is that, hey, I'm going to control my own schedule. I'm going to have the lifestyle I want. It's the exact opposite, right? You're going to put in a lot of long hours, and then hopefully years or some time down the line, then you can start to structure your life the way that you want it.
Yeah, I was just going to say, in order to become a boss, that means you had to put in a whole bunch of time to be able to get an employee. So what often you forget is the reason that they are a boss is because they put in a whole bunch of time to lay a whole bunch of groundwork to be able to have revenue or some sort of income to be able to pay to have an employee. And that's oftentimes what we don't see.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to shift gears a little bit.
Okay.
I do want to talk because I've shared this with you, Jared. I feel like you're an incredible example to me of the type of man to be and also the type of father to be, because I've seen the way that you interact with your kids and the way you interact with your spouse. It's awesome. And I think, the last trip we were in California for work, you brought your daughter with you. And I could tell how much she looked up to you and just was like, man, my dad is awesome. He's an incredible man. And that touched me. But talk a little bit about the balancing act of being a businessman, an entrepreneur, working in a job where all of your money is dictated by your efforts, your production, and being a father and a husband at the same time. How do you balance?
Yeah, I don't do a good job of it. You can ask my wife about that. But I think back to the platinum experience. It didn't end the way that every entrepreneur dreams, that you sell the company and you make millions and you ride off into the sunset. So going through that experience, I sacrificed. I felt like I sacrificed a lot. I put in a lot of time, gone a lot of hours, and not having it end up like I wanted it to, because that's the whole dream is sacrifice now for what we want later. Mm-hmm. I realized that I have to be careful about sacrificing everything now and not having nothing later. I like to go to funerals, a few funerals a year, because for me it keeps you, it reminds you what's really important in life. And as when you think back about a funeral, there's a few things you never hear at a funeral. Number one, you never hear, the person that is no longer there would never say, I wish I would have worked more. Man, I just wish I would have worked some more. I wish I would have spent more time at the office. You know what? I wish I would have made a couple $1,000s more. So, for me, I always think about that. Mm-hmm. Okay, an extra 2 hours at the office, an extra hour at the office, missing something of my children. Obviously, I miss plenty, but missing the important things. Is it worth it? Well, when I'm dead, I'm not going to think, boy, that was sure worth the extra 2 hours. But the other thing you also never hear at a funeral is, man, sure I'm glad I didn't follow my dreams. Sure I'm glad I didn't go for it. So I think the balance is challenging, because it's both following your dreams, but also not sacrificing everything for it. Mainly obviously your family life. So to me, I wish I had a perfect answer. It's really trying to make sure you're there at the critical times, understanding what's important in your children's lives. If that dance recital is the most important thing to your daughter, don't miss it. But, being there for a birthday party, maybe your kids don't care about that, and, you miss that. So I think really trying to be very, maybe purposeful on what activities you miss and you don't miss, and trying to plan around it. Because I always say we make time for what we really want to make time for.
Yeah.
I can be busier than busy. If the snow flies in the mountains and there's a sunny day after, I will be snowmobiling. I will cancel meetings. I will do whatever I have. I'll change schedules. I will be there.
Yeah.
So I think we can make time for what we want to.
Yeah. No, I'm glad you brought it up that way because again, another lesson that I've learned from you and working with you, I've seen that because there's so many entrepreneurs and there's so many businessmen that they feel like I will be happy when.
Yeah.
I'll be happy and things will be all set up when I sell the company. And when that is, I don't know. But I'm going to kill myself until I'm able to sell the company because then everything will line up. And there's that saying that goes along with, you probably heard, enjoy the journey.
Yeah.
You know, enjoy the process type of a thing. And I think that's so important because there may not be a when. It may not end the way that you had planned. So you might as well live life every day to its fullest. And like you said, you try your best to be to the things that are the most important as you're still chasing after your dreams. And you have that balance that's in between because, again, you don't want to be, man, great example. You don't want to be at your funeral and say, boy, I wish I'd have spent more time at the office. You know,
Yeah.
Great analogy. So thank you for sharing that. Awesome. Okay, last question I have for you, Jared, and we'll wrap up. What advice would you give for somebody who's wanting to start off their own business now? Maybe somebody's wanting to become a dealer at Solcius, or they're wanting to create a new thing. What would you say, what's the best advice you could give for a future entrepreneur?
I think same message that I've already given, but I think knowing what the most important activities are. Unfortunately, and I'm still guilty of it, busy being busy. We can spend so much time being busy. I'm busy being busy. What are you doing? Well, I'm busy. I'm just busy. And I think as an entrepreneur, you've got a list of 10,000 to-do items. And when I look at a new dealer, hey, what did you do today? Oh, I did this, and I did this, and I did this, and I did this, and I did this. Well, we're not sending you money on Friday. Do you realize that? We're not sending you money. Oh, I know, but I've got all these things going on. At the end of the day, for an entrepreneur, and Kelly says this, it's the race to revenue.
Right.
If money is not coming into that bank account, and it depends on what type of a business you have, but generally, a sales and marketing company, if money is not coming into that bank account on a consistent basis, you're not focused on the right activities.
Yeah.
And that is where you've got to make sure you cannot be busy being busy. You better figure out what those activities are that's going to drive money into your bank account.
Man, such great advice. Yeah, again, it's, when I structure my day, I try to put my day in different quadrants. And I have 4 quadrants that I work through. The first one is I look at tasks that are both urgent and important. And typically those tasks are somebody else's fire, that I'm having to put out. And you think about most entrepreneurs, and that's probably where they spend the most or the majority of their times. They're like, something happened in this scenario, and I've got to put out this fire. And they spend all day working on that. The second quadrant where I try to spend most of my time, which is the most important thing, is important items that are not urgent. Those are items that are trying to build the business, your goals, your dreams, your passions, like you said, making sure that I'm getting revenue in the company. Am I out recruiting? Because I've got to get people in here to help that. It's the important things, but it's not going to break the company today, but you better be working on them every day because someday it will. And then those bottom 2 quadrants that are you really want to try to avoid as much as you can is maybe items that are urgent, but they're not important at all. And those may be things like email, texts, messages, these distractions that we get throughout the day. And then the last one is items that are both not important and not urgent. And those are just things that completely waste our time. And in our day and age, that means probably social media and stuff like that, which I know you stay away from. So that's as much as you can.
But I love the news.
No. Well, Jared, this has been great. I appreciate all the stories and the things that you've been able to share and the counsel that you've been able to give. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Appreciate working with you, and we'll do it again sometime.
Okay.
So thank you, Jared.